Fiona, welcome to the Pitch to Bricks podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. But am I one of your first as well? Is this a new initiative?
You are actually episode 3.
Oh, wow.
So,
3's my favourite number.
Is
That's
it really?
Brilliant. That's
Is
a good
that,
sign.
Is that a sporting reference?
No, unfortunately it's not. I don't actually know the reference. Number 3 has never played a role in my life.
Right.
But at the same time, I think I'm quite fortunate, actually. So maybe it has, but without me actually knowing.
So you don't know where this has come from? It's
No
just
idea where this has come from. If anyone asks me my favourite number, my lucky number, I say 3. My favourite colour, red. My lucky colour, red.
So it's like magic tricks where we're supposed to choose a number. You're like 3.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, so episode number 3, lucky number, that's an interesting way to start. But we know each other, but it would be great if you could give the viewers and the audience a bit of an idea of who's Fiona, what's your business, what is it you're doing,
So who's Fiona? Well, I'm going to stick to the professional side of who's Fiona, because the other one's a Pandora's box. Yeah,
keep it.
I've worked in the professional sports industry since I was 38. For 38 years. I've worked in the professional sports
Hang on.
I've worked in professional sports for 38 years. And what I was going to say is because I started when I was 7, but of course that's clearly not the case.
Yeah.
Been around a long time, and interestingly, not an awful lot has changed. Yes, digital technology has come along, and data has come along, and AI has come along, etc., but a lot of the principles are still very much the same. So I've been around for a long, long time. My formative years were representing rights owners, the clubs, teams, leagues, governing bodies, helping them commercialise their assets, commercialise their IP. Then 12 years ago, I moved into the field of data and technology with my consultancy Winners, and very happy with the business. It's a lovely business. I've got some great people working in it. They do a fantastic job, and therefore we have happy clients, really working nicely. But then through that understanding of how the sports industry uses data, or how industry in general uses data, I found the opportunity for the current business, or the second business, which is ProDataStack, and that's the one that's all about providing athletes with data. People in the data world like to use the term democratising data, and it just means making it accessible to everybody. Because data is considered really complex, really difficult. How do we get it? How do we use it? How do we store it? How do we look at it? How do we analyse it? So the principle behind ProDataStack is ensuring professional athletes, their agents, their representatives, anyone working around them, have all the data they need to guide their careers, make decisions, secure better contracts, think about the future, think about off the field, etc.
That's really interesting, and so we've seen a real evolution of data, haven't we, over I would say recent years. So using data was quite almost quite far out way of working, but now everybody's doing it, right? So what we're talking about here, what actual data is being reviewed?
So in the sports industry, on my PDS side, it's predominantly been the performance data. Okay, so what happens on the field, on the court, on the track, and more mature rights owners, more mature or sophisticated practitioners will also incorporate training data and possibly even rest data, nutrition data, health data, because it's all about aggregating that data and putting it in one place. But in the sports industry, it's always been about what's going to get us the end result on the field, on the court, on the track. You talk about how long it's been around. The famous example people talk about is the film Moneyball, the Brad Pitt movie. So that was the 1984 Oakland Athletics. So that's really when it started. But now, as you said rightly, every football club, every sports team, every training environment has some element of data about the performance. What PDS is doing is we're taking the performance data and we're also combining it with the off-the-field data. So digital data, marketing data, personal brand data, because our position in the market is that our athletes are more than just performers. I don't mean just performers. Being athletes is their core, it's their centre of their very being. But it's the minimal of what they are. They're actually also brands. So what we're doing is taking the performance data, everything that makes them who they are on the field or in their field of play, and then powering it up with everything that is around them off the field, everything that is around them in terms of their fans' perception, the public's perception, how many times people are talking about them, what they feel about them, and putting that into one holistic stack to create the ultimate sports brand value. What that actually means for them, for the people utilising the data, is they've got a dashboard in the palm of their hand, showing them all their key stats, how they move day to day, how they change, depending on what happens around them, both on the field and off the field.
Wow, okay. Because when we're talking about property, I will always talk about the why, like why are you? Because property is a fashionable word, a bit like data. It's a bit like the
property's a fashionable word.
Well, believe me, it's like property seems to be this fashionable thing
from
to
investors.
do. It's like you speak to young athletes and young footballers and things, and you go, well, what have you thought about what you might do after sport? And the first thing is, well, sport is what I'm doing, and I don't really see outside of that. But then you get this sort of generic answer of property. So what we're trying to really drill down on is as to why, why property, why X or Y. So what does property do for you? So in the same sort of phrase there, so you've got that dashboard. How's it being utilised? How will the athlete actually physically benefit from that?
So there are so many different use cases, and it's been a fascinating journey for us, because we've actually learnt every time we speak to somebody new, we're learning about new opportunities. So clearly performance data is already used in contract negotiations when it comes to event. Let's focus on football for now, because football is easy to talk about because of its prevalence, but the proposition, as with your proposition, it's as relevant for any sport, any athlete, etc. But let's stay focused on football for terms of reference. So when a player is being sold, when a player is being purchased, we're looking at the performance stats, aren't we? We're looking at their recovery rate.
Or are we, is the question.
Well, good point. Actually, good point. Most, all, some, whatever reference you want to take. We've had so many conversations, so many different people. You're right, sometimes no. The technical director wants this player, this person, bang, I don't care, I just want this player.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, yes, of course they want to understand, I need a centre forward, this guy's going to be the best centre forward, and the way they play and the stats they're generating means that they're going to play well with that right back, blah, 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 blah. But you're absolutely right. Some people know it's a gut instinct. It's watching the field of play and just saying, I want that player. And that's the same in business, by the way. That's not just the same in sport. We've got businesses like Amazon and Netflix who don't breathe unless they look at the data. And then we've got more traditional old-fashioned businesses who've been around since the year dot, and they're not looking so much at the data. We know who the winners and the losers are in that scenario. The principle is, yes, you're right, not everybody's using data. For those that do believe in the value of data, what is ProDataStack doing? So it's enabling the two parties to sit across the table, because there are often two parties, aren't there, in a transaction, and a buyer and a seller, to come to the right number. What's the right number? How are we going to value this player? And that's already used in the performance data is already used in that discussion anyway. And now we're bringing in the off-the-field data as well. So again, we know that when it comes to signing a sponsorship, signing a partnership, the corporate brands out there asking, well, what am I going to get for this? When you think back to your role as a sponsor of the different events and entities you're sponsoring, you're interested in what am I going to get to this? And it will come down to data. And whether we use the word data or we use numbers or we use traffic or eyeballs or customers or conversions, it's all data. So you've got a buyer and your seller going to make a transaction, and we use data as the foundation of that discussion. What am I going to get for it? What are you going to deliver me? So there's that core element of helping you negotiate better. And you know, we've got some wonderful case studies with our clients or anecdotes, and you know, we had one of our clients call us the other day, just on my way into the manager's room, what can you tell me? I need 3 bullet points quick. Fantastic, loved that. So there's that, just fundamentally when it comes to negotiations. But it's also about making daily decisions. So certainly when it comes to the digital stuff, I don't know how much you do digital marketing, how much your audience do digital marketing, but digital marketers don't make decisions without looking at the data.
No, of course.
What was the impact of the last time I did it?
Yeah.
What should I do to increase those numbers? Okay. So again, one of our clients, really enlightened chap, he looks at the dashboard 3 or 4 times a week. He uses it to help him make his next decision on behalf of his client in terms of the content, the posting, the way we're going to post, what we're going to say. So there's that ability to make informed decisions, which again is the principle of data. There's also a first-party data element to it, and I don't know how familiar you are with the term first-party data or zero-party data, but it means your database. You think about your business, how many customers and potential customers you have in that database. How much more valuable is that data in the database than the people following you on social?
Well, I think that's, you're not necessarily comparing to...
Well, to the outside world we are, but here's the point. If you've got somebody's email address or somebody's following you on social, which is the more valuable asset?
Oh, it's the email address.
100%, absolutely, way more valuable. What we've done as an industry, what the player representation industry has done, and what players do, what influencers do, what anybody does, because data is social is so exciting, is we've pushed all our customers, all our fans, all our followers onto social channels. We're helping make Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk richer. And don't get me wrong, those social channels are incredibly important, and getting those social followers are incredibly important. What we should be doing, though, is trying to get those social followers into our database with an email address. So the application also includes a really easy way to get your social followers, of which footballers have tens of thousands, or hundreds of thousands, or millions. Get them into your database so you own them to the extent you ever own somebody's email address, but so that you own them, but more importantly, you can use them. What would you use them for? Okay, I've invested in a restaurant. I want to get people to fill the seats. I'm launched my own clothing line. I'm launching a foundation. I'm running a soccer camp. I want to promote my sponsors. Imagine being sponsored by Nike and being able to say, Nike, I've got this many people in my database. I've got this many for whom I know when their birthday is. Give me a discount code so we can give them a birthday treat. Yeah?
Fantastic.
And what about when a player is going to a club and it was a margin call? So the technical director didn't say, I definitely want that player, get me them at all cost. What if it's two players being judged? I could go that way, I could go that way. And one of them says, I've got a database of 220, 200, 2,000, whatever, fans, my fans, who followed me through my career. I can sell your tickets to them. I can sell your replica shirts to them. So we've got that functionality as well. So the word data, I always say it's the biggest four-letter word out there, because it can mean so many things. It could mean actionable insights to help you negotiate better, help you make the right decisions, actually use that tangible value to sell something. As you do with your business, as we do with our business. Let's give the athletes or their agents the power to use that data to support the ongoing development of the athletes themselves. And by the way, there are more use cases, but those are the top three.
I mean, that's really insightful for, because rightly or wrongly, we sort of see sport through a lens, don't we, of what happens on the pitch, and we sort of just determine their fate on the pitch or whatever. And this is an example of how, like say, stick with football for a second, and about how players can say, right, I'm going to take ownership of my future beyond sport by being a bit more commercially aware whilst I'm in the sport.
Exactly. I'm leveraging the status that I have. We talk about people like in 15 Minutes of Fame. They have 8 years, 3 years, 7 years, 12 years, whatever, of fame. And that level of fame, obviously it differs whether you're whatever tier you're playing at, but it's still fame that I don't have or you don't have.
Yeah, of course.
The minute you step out onto a field, you become somebody that other people are interested in, obsessed with, die for, live for, cry for, you know. So we want to leverage that to give them an opportunity when they're off the field and in their future.
We've seen that firsthand, where we do quite a lot of work in rugby league, and these rugby league lads and lasses, but they will be little mini celebrities in their local towns.
Exactly.
But if you say their names outside of the sport or outside of a town, who? But actually, how can those guys really capitalise on that?
Exactly.
Because it's something they can't really repeat again, right?
Yeah.
And, well, a handful possibly can, but
if they go on to have a media career in the sport.
So will you guys get involved with that sort of demographic then? It's not just all about your Premier League.
Yeah, 100%. And I was talking to someone about this the other day, and they said I'm showing my socialist side, and I'd never thought about it like that. But I've been in sport for a long time, as I've mentioned, and I know that the amount of effort, tenacity, focus, determination, and sacrifice that a League Two player or conference player has to put in is exactly the same as the guys at the top or the people at the top, but just something was different, whatever it was. Maybe it was level of skill, maybe it was luck, right place, right time, maybe it was the manager liked you, who knows what it was. But, the athletes are all, heading in the same direction. The level that they finish at is up to fate or up to a number of different things. I'm sure it's not just fate. But we wanted to provide an environment for every athlete of every level to benefit from. So, for example, we've done a tiered pricing structure so that because we want you to get return on investment, because affordability is a relative term, isn't it?
Of course,
people can afford or they can't afford. But if you're getting a return on investment, if you're getting value out of it, that's the deciding factor. So we've got a tiered pricing model. So in its brutalest sense, you know, the Premier League players will pay a lot more than the League Two players. And there is a rationale behind it. It's not just because the League Two players can't commercialise as much. Premier League players are generating a lot more data. So it costs us more to hold. It costs us more to process. But the principle is the same, whether you are 2,000, 200,000 or 2 million or 20 million in terms of your fan base, your reach, your brand value. There is a model that will ensure you can get your return on investment.
And I don't want you to quote any specific names or anything, because obviously we wouldn't do that. But have you seen any sort of case studies where you've gone, that was a good outcome and that was because of how we've leveraged that data? Is there anything there that you can...
So my favourite one, and I've got a number of them, but my favourite one, because I mean, firstly, we don't have that many because we're early doors. Really started trading 4 months ago. But my favourite one is a Premier League player and footballer, and his agent started collecting this first-party data through our mechanism, and he found that 45% of the fans going into the database were female.
All right.
He didn't expect that. It's a male footballer. He didn't expect... Now, I know the name of the footballer, and I can tell you I know why 45% were female. Right. But he wasn't expecting that. And all of a sudden, it gave him the opportunity to think about positioning him with the female-focused corporate brands.
Interesting.
So instead of it being a Gillette razor I want to sell to, it's a Venus razor, because 45% of the fan base are female.
Yeah, makes sense.
Not only that, but we've got them in the database with a marketing opt-in. So we can send the discount code for the Gillette male razors to the males, and we can send the discount code for the female Venus razors to the females.
Okay.
So that's just an anecdote, but it was just so powerful.
Yeah, I mean, and that isn't something you would have identified without that use of that data, right?
Well, here's the thing. So depending on your level of maturity in terms of your capability and understanding, some social platforms do provide you with understanding of demographics of your followers, okay?
Okay.
So, but that's your social followers. And if you've got a website, GA4 does allow you to understand the demographics of your web visitors if you've set it up the right way. Okay. But that all demands a level of understanding about the way things work. So our platform just kind of makes it easier and gives it you there in your face.
So yeah, so I mean,
and also back to the fact that, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but back to the fact that you can know how many of your social followers are female and how many are male, but you can't target the female followers with your social posts.
No.
Unless you pay for social advertising, which is very, very, very good, but very, very expensive.
Yeah,
when you compare the cost of that to using an email for email marketing, it's like night and day. So for advanced marketers who understand the data in a marketing funnel and understand how valuable, knowing that they're a female, that they live in this part of the world,
100%,
and their age group, and being able to target them with those personalised email campaigns on behalf of sponsors or on behalf of the athletes or their interests is incredibly valuable.
You could even spin it around the other way as well, from a consumer's perspective. If I'm a female and I'm a fan of a certain player, well, everybody's winning, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because
exactly.
The person that is the athlete can provide what the
something that they want,
for.
100%.
So everybody wins.
And it's a really interesting point you bring there. So I've been involved in data now for 12 years, and there's a lot of papers constantly coming out. People like data, people hate data. Thankfully, the people who don't like data is very, very small, otherwise I wouldn't have a business. But the people who like it say exactly what you say. It gives me stuff I want. Instead of having to scroll through or having to look for, because they've got my data and they know about me, they're giving me what I want. You're absolutely right. So what we're trying to do is empower athletes to understand who their fans are, be able to engage with them directly, use the data to empower those negotiations, but because they are also athletes, bring in that performance data in as well, because of course it's incredibly important. Now, where this is going to end, or where this is the next step, should I say, is all this aggregation of data, which in itself is incredibly important, is then giving us an opportunity to start benchmarking. So we've created our own ML algorithm, machine learning algorithm, our AI application, and we're providing an anonymised benchmarking and prediction function.
Oh, wow.
So now we can say, I've got this 19-year-old centre forward, what should I charge Aston Villa, what should I charge Nike, what should I charge for 4 Instagram reels, by benchmarking it against other athletes, but without you being able to see who those athletes are. So it's anonymised. Okay. And then the next level is an index. So we've got an at-a-glance understanding of their sports brand value in their particular sport or region of the world or position or age group, using all the different data points that we've got. We've actually launched the proof of concept there. We've had 2 Oxford University PhDs, specialists in machine learning, help us produce that algorithm.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
And that's making that sort of tool available to, you know, and not so, like I keep saying it, but Premier League players, almost like you're the royalty in that space, but then bringing that functionality through.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's so good. You know,
and thinking about, I know we're talking about football because it's easier from a frame of reference, but think about other sports. You could be the best in the world at your sport, but if your sport is table tennis, as brilliant as it is, you're not earning what the Premier League players are earning. So we need to provide a model that can accommodate for them as well. The other thinking is as well, I'm very mindful of both the opportunity and the challenges for females in sport. When we were first doing our research, we read an Investec report that said that female athletes earn 10 times more off the field than they earn on the field. So while we can't, 10 times. So while we can't do anything about TV rights and ticket values, we can help the female athletes with their off the field value. We can try and level up the gender pay gap by giving them the tools in the space where they are demonstrating they can generate more, giving them the tools to do that.
That's really interesting there. You mentioned that around the women's game and female athletes as a whole in terms of that disparity between off and on the field. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So you touched upon minority sports there. If I'm a badminton player, for example, and you're going, right, well, maybe my earning capacity is possibly limited, what sort of things would somebody who's in a minority sport be doing to possibly feather their nest for life after? So
here's the thing. Whether you're in a minority sport and you're the best in the world, or you're in a minority sport and you're not the best in the world, and whether you're in a majority sport and you're the best in the world, the principles are the same.
Yeah.
The principles are exactly the same. The only thing that differs is the scale. So with my other business, which is a consultancy, we work for rights owners, the clubs, teams, leagues, governing bodies. We build this framework about how you use data to increase revenue, engagement, participation. The framework's exactly the same. All that differs is the scale, whether it's the scale of focus, the scale of revenue, the scale of cost, the scale of technology. It's exactly the same for the athletes. And by the way, when we talk about professional sport, and this is about professional sport, but the principle's actually the same for every one of us in this room. Futurists believe that every one of us will be a brand one day because of the way social media is going. Because, a normal person that doesn't, do X, Y, or Z can all of a sudden have a following of whatever.
That's really interesting. We were talking about that off camera, actually.
Yeah. So the principle for, the best in the world at badminton and the best in the world at football is the same. It's just the scale that's going to differ. Yeah. So in terms of our software, what's it going to do? It's going to enable you to understand the data that matters to you, the stuff that's going to make a difference to your negotiations, whether it's with Visa and British Airways or the butcher down the road, the car dealer down the road. It's going to enable you to aggregate, to collect that first-party data, have those email addresses, whether you've got 200, 2,000, 20,000 or 2 million, okay? It's going to provide that functionality. One other bit that we have in there that we haven't touched on, which is so valuable, and it's one of my favourite elements, is it's what we call digital mentions. It's tracking how many people are talking about you around the world.
Okay.
Back in the day, we used to clip press clippings to see how much brand exposure we had. Do you remember? Were you still around then?
I do vaguely remember that, yeah.
Press clippings. Now we count how many people are talking about us in the digital world. So corporate brands do brand tracking. We're doing brand tracking for our agents. And what comes with that brand tracking is sentiment. How are people feeling about you? I love Jack Grealish's stats. Okay, he's one of the most talked about in the world, but it is staggering to see the reach, that the number of people talking about him at any point in time on digital platforms. you know, the peaks and troughs when things happen in his life, the sentiment associated with it, fascinating. Just as relevant for the badminton player.
Yeah.
It's just the quantity's going to be different.
Yeah. I know, I love that. I mean, so if you're going to give any sort of particular advice, if we're going to summarize into maybe like one thing that we were going to give a professional sports person as a tip for maximizing their career now for life after sport, what would you say it'd be?
Well, flippantly, I'd say come and speak to ProDataStack.
Of course, yeah.
But more importantly, I'd say start to understand the relevance of data. Now, that's because I'm sitting in this chair and I understand data. I've learnt an awful lot about what's important to athletes since I've started working on this journey. And I have to go with, if I weren't sitting in my data chair, I'd go with your chair, which is understand finance, because I've now sat in enough presentations and lectures, and the Anton Ferdinand one that he did at Laps at Brentford blew me away. Anton Ferdinand was asked by his interviewer, who did an amazing job, what would you say to your 18-year-old self right now if you could? He said financial literacy.
Oh, interesting.
Loved it. And Danny Elliott at his networking event the other night, they were talking about the same thing, that the one area that could make a difference to a professional athlete's future is probably understanding financial literacy now at the start of their journey. Yeah. And then understand their data. Come and talk to ProDataStack.
Yeah, we could do a job, couldn't we? We could do a 2-for-1 job.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, no, thank you. It's like you say, as you say, the financial thing, and we've been sort of sat in the same room when they've talked about it around. Well, actually, it can be a bit taboo, and it's like you don't want to like show weakness. You don't want to show that you don't understand your numbers. You don't want to ask questions because it can be, you might expose yourself. You expose your vulnerability, and obviously in an environment like a changing room, you might not want to expose vulnerability. So, no, really, obviously that touches with us and what we do. So, you know, great to hear. But yeah, so Fiona, thank you very much for coming on. It's been great to talk and understand a little bit about your business. If somebody wants to get in touch and wants to understand a bit more about ProDataStack, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
So Google ProDataStack, Google Fiona Green, but I'm not a celebrity, so it's probably not there. There is a vet somewhere called Fiona Green. Just look for us on our social channels. We'll happily give a demo, show them what we're doing, love to talk about it. We're big into education and empowerment as well, so we'll happily spend time talking and to help people understand.
And we'll make the link available as well on the.
Brilliant, thank you, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to come here and talk about it.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Great stuff, thank you.
Thank you.